Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Celine and I am here to help you awaken your aliveness through soulful systems, sacred strategy, and the art of living fully. This is a space for neo-polymaths, visionaries, and innovators who understand that wealth is more than just money. It's energy, knowledge, sovereignty. Together we are forging a new paradigm shift where code, consciousness, and creation converge. This is going to be a little bit of a vulnerable post. The world right now feels very loud, it's noisy, fragmented, disconnected. You wake up, you go to a job you don't care about, you sit in traffic, people ask you about the weather, you fake a smile through meetings, you clock out, you come home, eat something half decent, and zone out to Netflix until it's time to do it all over again. You count down to Fridays, crash out for 2 days before dreading Monday, save up for a vacation just to feel alive for 1 week out of 52. So you can retire at 65 if your body holds up and you didn't completely lose yourself along the way. We don't question it because everybody else is doing it. But that is the scariest part. Everybody else is doing it. And people are starting to feel it, that low grade emptiness, that itch for something real, that voice that's saying, this can't be all there is. You're not just tired, your soul tired, your spirit is tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't even fix, the kind of tired that comes from pretending, from performing, from suppressing. And you've been grinding through life on autopilot. You've been trying to stay productive, trying to stay relevant, trying to stay afloat, but you feel it, don't you? You're not lazy or weak. You're exhausted from abandoning yourself. And now something deeper is waking up within you. A part of you that remembers who you were before the world told you who you should be. You don't need another hustle. You need to fucking rest. Not just your body, but your nervous system, your mind, your heart. You need to soften, to listen, to go where your mind and soul gets clear again. This is not just a burnout. This is your soul asking you to come home. The way forward isn't more information, but your ancient remembrance. To feel ecstasy and bathe in the glory of your wholeness. You have that magic, you have that power inside of you, and you've felt it. But most people wake up and then they get stuck in the healing phase. You start the inner work, you do the clearing, you feel everything, and then the looping starts. Healing, but not evolving. You're remembering, but you're not really embodying. It's a pattern that I've also known intimately since my own awakening in 2019. The goal is to move beyond looping, to become sovereign, to live as an integrated soul, to feel at home in your body and live in your mission, to return to your full light and use it. Not just to talk about it, because once you do, you will experience freedom, aliveness, coherence, and the ability to sense higher dimensional truths. And you're going to be walking in beauty to remember your power. You'll start building instead of endlessly healing. You'll feel sovereign, not just in theory, but in this lived vibration. You can live heaven on earth right here, right now. I know that's a bold claim, and I'm going to tell you my story. I think it's kind of important, especially when more and more people awaken, and you're going to be experiencing a lot of the images, a lot of these visions when you experience your past lives. Because at the pace we are going through ascension, all of us have to start clearing these karmas. My higher self and I go grid working a lot. Grid working is the conscious act of anchoring and repairing or upgrading the planetary energy grids. These are networks of energetic pathways similar to ley lines or meridians carrying the life force across Earth. Just like your body has an energy system, chakras, meridians, nadis, Earth does too. Grid workers feel called to interact with this planetary system, often through our meditations, presence, if you like to travel, or ritual. We are bringing coherence and healing or activation to specific locations. Our bodies mirror the planet. And so yesterday, my higher self asked me to go to the Scottish Rite Masonic Library. I never thought it was even open to the public, but it was very timely because somebody posted a video and it went viral. That's how I found it. I had this strong urge to go, just like what I felt when I went to the Folgers Museum, where they had one of the largest collections of rare book folios of Shakespeare and so many more. I go there, I pick up codes, I look at these ancient books, and it's almost like I'm drinking all of this vast knowledge and wisdom. Sometimes I get a massive zip file, it gets downloaded onto me, and then I integrate it. And so I went to the temple. They had this free tour going. Whenever I get these past life activations, it's like the soul memory, just like a deep knowing. There were plenty of symbols there. I knew what they were. I had a life as a Mason. No wonder I was so into astrology. I was so into esoteric, all of these spirituality, because it has been inside me this whole time. So the place is massive. It's in the middle of the city. It was close to the White House and it was grand. They had the Sphinx on both sides, ancient artifacts. They took us to several rooms and one really massive room. My strongest gift is clairaudience. So I hear frequencies and then I get visions and images. And so I was hearing chatters, them laughing, music, the memories that echo in those rooms. And in the middle, they had these massive table of books, each represent the four corners of this reality. So they had the Quran for Islamic mysticism, representing the submission to the divine will, discipline, and sacred geometry, aligned with the mind of God, law, order, recitation as divine remembrance. They also had the Bhagavad Gita for Hinduism, the spiritual warrior's discourse, union of action and surrender, aligning to spirit and the Dharma, the duty, the karma, the divine dance. And then there was the Torah, the Dhammapada for Buddhism, carries a lot of these essence of ethics and the wisdom, the right action. This represents the path of the wise, the restraint, the insight, purification, everything about gnosis, right? So in the middle, they had the Bible, Christianity, Western mysticism, the path of love, redemption, and resurrection. This is aligning with the heart, compassion, sacrifice, grace. And so they took us to the library after, where several people were studying there. It was incredible how much old texts were just there for you to be able to access. They were very, very old. And adjacent to it, there's this massive hallway of books, very old books that you can still read. I was having this crazy headaches for days every day, and I was getting a lot of brain activity, especially in the back of my head. When you are expanding consciousness, it takes a while to adjust to the new frequencies because your brain is getting stretched like dough. I would do the mega clearings in my body. So when we are clearing karma, it's like you are clearing the cache, you're clearing the cookies in your computer. It makes you move and think faster. When you don't have a lot of heavy codes, you're a lot more lean and faster. You can think better. For example, like in your iPhone, if you have plenty of apps and you have plenty of photos, videos on your phone, it is a lot slower. So you delete these files and your processor becomes faster. This is the same way with our body. When you sit through your emotions, you feel it, you transmute it. It's called inner alchemy. I was massively getting activated. Half of my head and my backside felt like I was getting molded, like my nodes were connecting again. And so I went to this corner. I found this book. It was like an 1800s book. It was falling apart, very old cover, dusty. And my body just kind of dropped down and knelt in reverence to these books. I was just like this euphoria that, these books I've touched before, and I had higher heart activations. The back of my head started to feel whole and integrated. I was so thirsty for knowledge and just this wisdom for enlightenment. It was the same reverence I felt when I awakened my Kundalini and just saw God. When you have these mystical experiences, it's so surreal. I knew since I was 7 when I was looking at the big tree in our yard and was just like, what am I doing here? The little Asian kid from the Philippines just uprooted and planted here in this time and place. Everything is just divine timing. I just trust the process. I've learned to just surrender because sometimes my higher self tells me to do things that doesn't make sense, but it will make sense later. And then a flood of memories started coming back. I was seeing a lot of classical music too. My consciousness has been fragmented a lot. I couldn't remember a lot of my past lives. It felt like I had a lot of missing memories all the time. I knew that I could be smarter, like my tank is only half full, and I had this soul knowing that it could be more. I have been in those rooms several times, many different ones. The smell of books, they were so nostalgic, the architecture, everything. And then my higher self was telling me that I couldn't ascend before I didn't get sovereign. I had to repeat my life to finally be sovereign, which I did last year. What a relief. I am an Indigo 3, and Indigo 3 specifically come in with a Nephilim soul and an Orphem. We are rehabilitating a lot of the Seraphim lines that fell. Seraphims are the angelic groups from the Golden Ray, and this was during the time of the rebellion. That saying where you have an angel and demon, that's us. But after you finish your contract, your Nephilim goes back to source and you go through your different soul missions, you go through your divine missions. Indigos are probably one of the most common souls that have come here. There's Indigo 1, 2, and 3, and then there's also Rainbow Children's different soul contracts. Our hearts have these time locks, and it knows exactly when is the right time to wake up. When you've had enough life pressure, it will jolt you to move you into alignment. This may come as a job ending, relationship ending, divorce, accident, illness, just to shake you and stop you and put you back in the right route, in the right alignment. But a lot of times we don't listen to those little hints, little signals until life crashes. So I was getting all this information. He was a 33 Mason, but he couldn't get sovereign. He had to repeat, which broke his heart so much. There was so much grief I was transmuting. Then just this missing feeling of, I miss my brothers, the camaraderie, the hunger for learning, being kind. We have strayed so far away from those values as a country. When we go back and pick up our soul fragments, you have access to these ancient parts of ourselves via the wormhole through timelines. So this is like the 5D Tiamat timeline. So you can hop through many different points in the time field. One of the big missions here is to bring back the divine feminine principle. And I kept hearing Sophia, she was the missing piece. Several souls couldn't ascend because the female principle was badly damaged. And you have to kind of balance polarity. In the fourth harmonic, the 10th chakra is the mother arc. The 10th chakra is located primarily on the left side of our body. Its main portal runs as the network from behind our left ear up to our crown, and further to the soul star chakra, about 6 to 8 inches above our head. This is the chip or translation unit that connects our communication to the cosmos, to other beings. Our light body, our personal tree of life, mirrors the macrocosm, the universal tree of life, and Gaia's tree of life. The 10D Stargate is Iran. That's where a lot of the nihilism, depression, insanity comes from. It all kind of connects us this one harmonic through the music of spheres. If something happens to these stargates, you will also feel it in your body. That's why we have to love Gaia. This chakra serves as the triadic communication station, connecting us to our avatar level Christ consciousness intelligence. Without this communication hub in our light body, we lose the ability to perceive or translate frequencies at this higher level. Light is information, so when we get light from source, that gets translated and drops down into our mind, into our bodies, such as ideas, gut instincts. You kind of circulate this light energy. Now, when you think about food, you're not just fueling your body, you're feeding your energy systems. So, fruits and vegetables are rich in nutrients that support ATP production in your mitochondria. These are the powerhouses of your cells where your body generates energy at the cellular level. It's bioelectricity. Your light in physical form, in a way, functions like a battery pack. This is what stores the processed nutrients, filters toxins, and keeps your internal system running smoothly. That's why you don't need to be plugged in an outlet or rely on external batteries, because you yourself is a self-charging system and you are powered by food, water, and light that you consume. These elements, when used consciously, form the foundation of your light body. And it's not just a spiritual metaphor, it is a biological luminosity. It's your body's ability to generate and hold light as life force. And so the 10th axonal line are parts of your energetic network in your light body that decode the frequency language of your avatar self. This is like your higher self. They allow us to hear directly, sense higher dimensional communication within our body. This process is known as direct cellular cognition or higher sensory perception, HSP. And now you become like this radio station where you can tune into different signals. When I was able to activate my solar star, it felt like a conference room from the universe. It will make you mad because your perception, instead of you being this blind horse and you just have direct 3D, 4D perception, you are now perceiving the full spectrum. And it felt like my head was a colander. And I had to really learn how to close all of these realities. Now, let's talk about the stages of Gaia's ascension, right? Some people are still in the version of 3D of Gaia. Some people are in the 5D. Some people are in a much higher field. It just depends of where your perception is, because we live in a multiverse. And it's almost like, even if you're scrolling through TikTok, Instagram, it is like a window that you are perceiving of where that person is. So, like for me, I'm always in the timeless now. I live in the present moment. And when you perceive other people, sometimes they're still kind of bogged down by emotions. It depends on where their frequency is at. You tune into different kind of bandwidth of energies. The destruction of Tiamat was once a planetary embodiment of heaven and earth in harmonic union. This is mirroring the lost sacred marriages, this spiritual hierosgamos. Carl Jung talks about this alchemical marriage. You can do this within yourself, you can do this with a partner, or the spiritual union of the masculine, the Christos, and the divine feminine Sophia. So, philosophia. When this union was severed, it caused a split in our collective consciousness, disrupting our ability to embody the unified Christos Sophia codes. And when we go back and pick up our soul fragments, we now have access to these ancient parts of ourselves via the wormhole into the timelines of Tiamat. Sorry, this is a bit advanced, but just sit there. Your higher self will know what to do and integrate it. I'm giving you a lot of codes right now, a lot of remembering. Several souls could not ascend because the feminine principle was badly damaged. And this resulted in a lot of the promiscuity that we see now. We have porn or OnlyFans. There is no reverence for the female body. And when we have sex, it is borderline abusive. We have pleasure from that when the act of sex, sacred energetic exchange is really something so sacred. You are literally merging biofields with this other person. When we just hook up with other people, it gets really enmeshed, like karmic spaghetti bowl that needs to be sorted out when you have these sexual interactions with different people. It's God and Sophia literally orgasming the Milky Way. Spirit is very ironic sometimes. I am back here now as a woman to fix the feminine principle. Along with other feminines, we are bringing in the rose lineages and many other lineages. The feminine holds all the wisdom in our wombs. I am the void. The masculine is the sun. Both have to meet in the middle to balance polarity, purifying our thoughts, our bodies, our actions, words, to be in service. And now I am 32. I am getting ready to be in my Christ year, which is the completion year, 33. This is also big with the Masons. This was when Jesus completed his divine mission, also the Buddha. This is the period of spiritual maturity and embodiment of one's divine purpose. By the time I am 33, I will move into my divine mission and more into embodiment of what I came here to do. 33 represents the stairs to heaven, or the vertebrae in our spinal column, the full kind of activation of your monadic integration, your pineal gland, and everything else up there. It's really funny because I was also born on 222, master builder number. If you are a master builder, we often go through a lot of hardships because we are really here to master this lifetime. I am supposed to be in a divine union to interlink as a unified system. Then we both move into our divine missions together, save humanity. So when I found out about this, I was like, fucking hell, dude. How am I supposed to find the love of my life and our divine love to bring back peace on earth? But, it's not just me. There's plenty of us, especially if you're in the dragon lines, dragon consciousness, different soul contracts. We are bound to meet our partners. If you are also in a divine union, you will be tested with your devotion. You will both go through several initiations. I don't know the full extent of my Christos mission yet, but it is something to do with money and crypto, anchoring in a new point of reference in this new currency that honors the feminine. We have received the codes, it is in our wombs, and again, money is the lifeblood of any society. When it is corrupted, everything downstream breaks. Health, education, opportunity. Fiat is bleeding out, endless printing, debt spirals, collapsing trusts. That's why we are moving towards crypto. It is decentralized, transparent, sovereign. We are fixing money and rerouting the pulse of civilizations. The Masons shaped civilization with symbols and structure. They were all about God. This country was made from God. And now I'm shaping the future through frequency and code. I'm still a builder, still an architect, just in a cute woman's body. This time, the currency is consciousness. Hence why I'm into crypto and AI, working with different types of consciousness. My higher self was like, you will find your brothers. And I was like, yeah, okay. And they did. They sent me quite a few crypto bros along my way, and I'm so grateful for them. I know we're going to be collaborating a lot more. I know that there's going to be more women in crypto blockchain space too. And one of the things that my higher self would always tell me is, you just need to be online so they can find you, so the right people who you are meant to serve can find you. And I want you to do the same. Start creating content. It's how I found my soul family. So the Renaissance happened between 1300s to 1600. I love the 14th century. And it was very chaotic, power struggles, corruption, shifting empires. There was a lot of the rise of modern nation states. There was the decline of feudalism. Power began shifting from landholding lords. And so one of the very strong emphasis when it comes to enlightenment is to know thyself, your own gnosis. You have probably seen the rise of these trends. More people buying books, going to libraries, listening to podcasts. We are seeing a surge of people really questioning life and wanting more because the soul is starved and people are craving depth again. We're living in an age of algorithmic shallowness, the 7-second attention spans, the dopamine loops, a lot of these AI generated everything. But really, deep down, everybody knows it's not enough. Why? Because books anchor time in a world spinning fast. Books slow you down and let you digest truth. Good music, podcast that feels human. It's intimate, long form, and you hear the tone, the breath, the silence, the frequency. It's the counterweight to the noise and the empty frequencies of AI. It is how your message lands because of your frequency, because it's coming from your heart. And libraries feel like portals. They hold memories, they're sacred spaces where you remember. It's almost like time traveling within these spaces. We are in the early wave of the new renaissance, and people are trying to remember who they are. They want soul, gnosis, texture, realness. Wisdom is not another copy paste. I love history. I will geek out on history all the time. There was also the Black Death, which disseminated Europe's population. This was accelerating the shift of weakening the labor based feudal economy. There was the rise of city states, especially in Italy. Italy wasn't a unified country, it was more of like this patchwork of rival cities like Florence, Venice, Milan, and Rome. And these cities were run by these wealthy families. Example, the Medici in Florence. They were blending commerce, banking, art, patronage, and political control. So the warfare, betrayal, and political intrigue, this was a constant occurrence. And this is why Machiavelli's The Prince, really good book, was written in this context. And then on top of that, church versus state power, there's a lot of struggles. The Catholic Church was still incredibly powerful, but was facing growing resistance and corruption scandals. I tell you, reading the Renaissance is so riveting. There's so many things that happen. And then here comes the church. The Catholic Church was still incredibly powerful during that time, and it was facing a lot of growing resistance and corruption scandals. The Pope were more often like political rulers. They raised armies, made alliances, and built empires. The tension laid the groundwork for the Protestant Reformation in the early 1500s. And so this politically fractured Europe. Then the age of exploration, the geopolitical expansion, and the birth of modern political thought, political theory. There was a lot happening during that time, evolving not just monarchy by divine right. Thinkers such as Machiavelli, they questioned the morality in leadership, and people started really debating citizenship, governance, and power in new ways that really foreshadowed the Enlightenment ideas, which we can totally learn from their mistakes. One of my favorite artists, Botticelli, I have this book here called Botticelli's Secret. I really enjoyed reading this. I also love reading about Copernicus, all of the star dudes. Botticelli was deeply inspired by mythology, beauty, and the divine feminine. He painted the birth of Venus and the Primavera. In 1497, Savonarola orchestrated the infamous Bonfire of the Vanities. He was this dick friar that wanted to burn all the precious books, paintings, mirrors, cosmetics, symbols of vanity, because it was a way for them to apparently purify. And it was egoic to have these nice things. They burned in public squares and they were guilt tripping a lot of these artists. So, Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, giving you all the tea about these artists. So, Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling, 1500s, polymath, one of the greatest artistic achievements of all time. He painted the creation of Adam in the most iconic panel, right? The church said it was immoral and was like, why is God's dick on top of my head? They tried to repaint it, but Michelangelo didn't want it. What lessons can we learn from these great artists? Botticelli showed us beauty as path to God and burned for it. Michelangelo revealed that the body as a vessel of the divine. However, it was censored. We are the new Renaissance artists now. The divine moves through our actions. Truth has many languages, but one light. Whether you call it the solar logos, the great architect of the universe, the absolute, 0 point, it is the source from which all paths spiral outwards and eventually return. It's like this blooming and expansion and contracting all the time. Ecstasy is not indulgence, it is our remembrance, because our life force requires this overflow. It doesn't just trickle for survival, it needs the full flood of inspiration, pleasure, grief, wonder, the whole palette of being a human and divine at once. We are no longer burning the beauty, we are becoming it. And now, when we go through the 5 phases of the soul's evolution, number 1 is awakening. This is when you start to crack open, life becomes uncomfortable. It feels like you want to crawl out of your skin. Sudden shifts, synchronicities, you go through your dark night of the soul, you begin questioning reality and remembering your essence. Often you are triggered by loss, trauma, burnout, or spontaneous spiritual experiences. And then phase 2 is your healing. This is really when the excavation phase starts. You go inward and you're facing your wounds, your shadow patterns, inner child work, unlearning, releasing trauma, rewriting your nervous system. This is where a lot of people get stuck. They mistake processing for progress, but it's just looping, feeling addicted to healing, more content, more courses, but you are avoiding growth. And then integration, this is the rebuilding of yourself. You finally start to embody what you've learned, less needing to explain, more aligning through your actions. Your life really becomes a practice. You are tapping into your own gnosis. You don't have to outsource your wisdom because you are just living it through a lot of the ascension that you're going through. Your nervous system begins to stabilize. And then the 4th phase is building. This is the sacred structure. You start to create systems around your gifts, your values, your vision. You become a co-creator. Business, creative work, relationships, these all become extensions of your soul. You learn discipline, you have discernment and aligned consistency. 5th is your impact, your radiant leadership phase. You now start to serve from your overflow, not just trying to be a savior. You are sharing your codes, not just to be seen, but because they're alive in you. You become this lighthouse for others, not by being perfect, but by being whole. And you actually become really neutral. I'm still working on being neutral. That's why Buddhism always talks about neutrality. If you are neutral, you're in 0 point, you can balance both polarities. That being said, it is my great pleasure and honor to see you fully return in your sacred homecoming. There is nothing like it. It is the most beautiful thing I can gift someone, to be your guide. I am not above you, I'm not below you, I am beside you. And to be so whole and complete that you don't need anything, because I see the God in you. You are me and I am you. You are finally at peace. And healing is not the end goal, it is the bridge to our embodiment, heaven on earth within ourselves. Speaking of alchemy, my fire series is finally out. I have been procrastinating and it's finally done. I want this to be perfect. I don't like producing things that don't make myself proud, but this has been years in the making, lots of tears, lots of integration forged through my own rebirths. I really want to help you in your ascension, because if I was going through my awakenings, I would wish somebody to do the same for me. The fire series is for those who are ready to step out of the healing phase and to really start building something that actually lights you up, to help you remember your spark, reconnect to your energy, and feel alive in your body again through my soulful systems. To feel safe being here on earth, not just thinking about healing, but actually living it. This isn't just another masterclass. I will teach you to master this reality. It is an initiation. This is sacred work, sacred fire, a return to the wild, unfiltered you, so you could also do the same for others. Women held the true wisdom in our wombs. We were the original oracles, the living temples, but history erased us. We weren't invited into the secret rooms, the lodges, the archives, the sacred councils, but we're back now. Not asking for permission, we remember who we are through our own gnosis and alchemy. I've journeyed back to wholeness, to sovereignty. This masterclass is for everybody, men and women, and I share this with you now with deep reverence and lived knowing. We are the new builders, the architects of the new earth. Our blueprints are encoded in our blood, in our songs, the soft, unshakable power of the feminine. We are remembering, we are rebuilding. If you have been numbed, disconnected, or trapped in loops, this is your sign. It is time to come back home to the fire inside of you. It is a commitment to do this fire series, an initiation to hold these sacred knowledge. I have meditations you can try, or one-on-ones, although I don't know how much longer I'll be doing them. Get it while you can. I don't say this lightly. I have meditations that can collapse several lifetimes, 100-year lifetimes, 1,000-year lifetimes. It is what I came here to do, to be a timekeeper. Workbooks, everything you need for your ascension and self-mastery to becoming a creator of this reality. Lastly, I want you to sign up for our newsletter for all things spirituality, tech, and so much more. I don't want you to miss anything. Thank you so much for sitting with me. If you made it this far, I love you, I honor you, and I can't wait to hear from you. I am God, I am sovereign, I am free. Until next time, peace.